Hello all, I've returned once again to grace you with the many things I played last month. No waffle today, we're keeping it short and sweet. Yes, I acknowledge the lateness of this episode, I've been busy again, so perhaps this is just a monthly retrospective that's about 10 days late, like routinely. Capiche? Anyhow, on with the show. So, first up, Dragon Age Origins. I made some more progress on this, but I'm really struggling to finish this one. I've done the elves, the wizards, and the humans, and I'm now just trying to get the help of the dwarves for the big final battle, so I think that means I'm nearly done. Each area has a huge amount of content to it, loads of different characters and writing and side quests, but I'm just kind of finding it all really tedious. It's not that it's bad, it's just I was kind of done with it 10 hours ago, and it's still not over. I am going to finish it, and I don't want to write off this genre of game just yet. I just think that I'd rather play something which allows me to use different skills to approach problems in different ways, like Baldur's Gate 3. The problem I keep coming back to is that this game just always ends in combat. I've never found a way to circumnavigate a problem or talk an enemy down. Now, this isn't a problem as such, the combat system is very robust and I've been enjoying it enough to stick with the game. Once I figured out how best to use the combat tactics panel, things got a lot easier because my party stopped being quite so utterly useless. In fact, it had a bit of a knock-on effect, because once I tweaked my party's AI so that they would actually drink a health potion now and then, I found I was getting through the things so much faster that I actually started considering using the light crafting system the game has to brew more potions. So that was a nice knock-on effect. I think I enjoy the modes of engagement with Dragon Age, the swords and the boards, the high fantasy setting, the classes and all that sort of gameplay. I just think I find the quests and characters kind of unengaging and the story unrewarding. I don't know what it is specifically, as the characters have a reasonable amount of depth and are likeable enough. The occasional mid-gameplay chatter between the group is occasional enough to not be annoying and well written enough that I do actually listen to it. I just can't help but think about my time with Persona 5, where when I finished the game I was genuinely sad that I wasn't going to get to spend any more time with those characters, because I really enjoyed their respective stories and the way they were interwoven with the main story. Whereas here, it's something that I accept is happening around me, but I don't care much outside of that. Anyhow, I'm going to struggle to the end of this one, but unless it absolutely blows me away, I think I'm probably done talking about it. I thought I finally rolled credits on Pokemon Legends Arceus in November, but it turns out I've just been ejected from the survey team and now the sky is purple, so I suppose I ought to deal with that. When I do finally get to the end, I'm of the understanding that you can keep playing post-endgame, so I think I'll keep on coming back to finish up the odd side quest, fill out the Pokedex and get the last 3-star ranks that I need, that sort of thing. Having it just in my bag when I go travelling means that it'll be easy to pick up and play when I'm in the mood. My conclusion on this game is that it was nothing much to write home about, but I enjoyed my time with it. It's definitely innovative for the Pokemon franchise, but outside of that, it didn't do much that was new and interesting. I'm happy with the little party of dudes I put together, even if they're not very well leveled and it's probably not a particularly optimal setup. I did have to do a little bit of grinding in order to get some of my guys to a more reasonable level, and some of the later game encounters did start to challenge me, or have started to challenge me a tad. But that's about what I'd expect given my casual engagement with the Pokemon series. Obviously someone with more knowledge of the games would have been able to properly train their Pokemon to deal with any encounter, but I just sort of pick at things as they come. This one I'm also hoping to finish up the main story of over December, but unlike Dragon Age, once I'm done with it I might actually come back and finish up the side content. My obsession with Sea of Thieves continues on into its God knows what month. I'm dreading my Steam Unwrapped this year because I pretty much played 200 hours of this game in about 3 months. I think my engagement with Sea of Thieves is a weird one because I'm both obsessed with the setting and the fantasy of being a pirate, but I'm also obsessed with the highly tactile methods of engagement the game has, and the idea of a piratical paradise as a digital third space. I don't want to go into it too much here because I'm starting to draft notes for an essay on this kind of concept, but in the meantime, I'll tell you to go watch Noah Caldwell-Gervais' video on the Fallout franchise. It's an astonishingly good watch, but in the section about Fallout 76 specifically, he talks about the idea of video games as a digital third space to hang out with your friends. It's a really interesting bit of work, and I highly recommend it. Anyhow, on the 1st of December, my friend Alex and I played a session, and after we'd sold everything, we just hung out in the tavern in Port Merrick chatting. We weren't engaging with the mechanics of the game, but we were using it as a digital third space to be together. From the perspective of hanging out with my best friend, it was really nice. And from the perspective of different modes of engagement with online games, it was incredibly interesting, so that was cool. I also did my first couple of rounds of Hourglass PvP in November, which was fun. There's not much more to it than that. I'm going to keep doing the Hourglass PvP because I really want to get the Skeleton Curse, but that's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. Assemble with Care is a short, snacky little indie game which came up in conversation with Alex. It was like £2, so I grabbed it and played it through in the same evening. It was nice. Pretty much, you play as Maria, who, while travelling, arrives in a little town called Bellariva. She runs a little repair business, and the story plays out as you repair different doohickeys and thingamabobs for a couple of people in the town. I won't go into a full summary here, but there are 2 stories running in parallel, both of which link back to Maria's own story in some way. The writing is pretty on the nose, which can undermine some of the more emotional moments in the game. For instance, the second chapter where you fix a tape deck for a little girl could really do with just letting the tape deck sing for a moment instead of overstating the point that this little girl's mum is dead and this makes her sad. I personally think it would be more emotionally effective to leave some things up to inference. Broadly, the story is fairly unsubtle in all of its moments and messages, but the voice acting is well performed, the soundtrack is nice, and I absolutely adore the art style. The mechanics are interesting, but don't feel like they actually get interesting until the epilogue chapter, which is the main thing stopping this from feeling like a game and keeping it a concept game. Full disclosure, it's not particularly long. It took me about 70 minutes to complete. Now, being an indie game developer myself, I don't think that's a criticism or an issue. I'm firmly of the opinion that there is nothing wrong with a game being a short concept game and still costing money. However, if you're quite reasonably trying to watch your pennies and pounds at the moment, then the hours of play per dollar spent calculation does not look favourably for this game. So if you're not super enthusiastic about weird little concept games and just want something that you know you'll get a lot of time out of, no shame in giving this one a skip. You're not missing out on much. But if you've got a few pounds to throw at some devs who did something interesting, then maybe give this a look. This is a bit of a weird one, but a PS4 and Nintendo Switch port of Red Dead 1 came out on my birthday this year, and I finally caved in and picked it up on the Switch while it was on sale. I am astonished by how well this runs in handheld mode, and how good it looks. I'm having a lot of fun just riding around enjoying the music and atmosphere. This is another game which surprised me with how much it benefits from being handheld. The accessibility of being able to pick it up, do a single bounty mission or start a bar fight or something, and then put it down again without having to faff around with getting a console all hooked up just for 10 minutes of playing, means I might actually finish it this time, as opposed to doing the first few missions at the McFarlane Ranch, I don't know how to say that with an English accent, and then just sort of petering out like I did when I first gave the game a go. I've just done the mission where you steal the Gatling gun from the miners, so I think I'm coming to the end of the first act. It feels like I'm coming to the end of the first act. I know the game's main story is fairly average in length, but I don't actually know how long it'll take me to finish. Either way, it's got me thinking about the broader design of open world games, Rockstar's specific take on those games, and that sort of thing. Perhaps next month I'll actually be able to talk about those ideas, because I'll have thought about them more, but at the moment it's just sort of a jumble of ideas. And that's kind of it. I mean, I've played little bits of this and that here and there. I've been dicking about in GTA 5 a little bit. I reinstalled Far Cry 3 to keep working on the second island. I've played this game through a couple of times already, so it's not like I'm doing anything new. I got the Assassin's Creed Rebel collection for the Switch, which I got like cheap on eBay, really cheap on eBay, like £10. And because Black Flag's one of my favourite games of all time, I've started another playthrough of that, but that barely counts. I've played that game through twice now. This makes for a third. If I finish it, this will make for a third full playthrough, along with additional hours of dicking around. I have played through that game on the PS3 and the PS4 and now the Switch, so nothing particularly interesting about that. I probably won't talk about it much. Next month, I've got a few things I want to play. I want to finish up Prey. I really want to finish up Prey 2017. I'm about halfway through it, I think. I don't know, 11 hours, so assuming it's an average 20-hour length game, it stands to reason I'm about halfway through. I picked up a game called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, which I still know nothing about. I haven't played yet, but looks very, very interesting, so I want to give that a go. Elsewhere in there, I've got a long list of games that I want to play through or pick up again, so I'd always be happy to do another playthrough of one of the Dark Souls games. There's a part of me that's on this like fantasy role-playing kick at the moment, so I kind of want to spend some time with Daggerfall, Morrowind, or Oblivion, maybe. Another part of me likes the idea of playing through Planescape Torment. Her Story is something I think I've got in my Steam library. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. Her Story, it's like an FMV mystery game, so that could be fun to give a go. Thymesia, I ended up with from a Humble Bundle. Yeah, I ended up with from a Humble Bundle. I know nothing about that, just that it looks interesting. Proteus, a friend got me. That just looks like a fun Doom-style first-person shooter, so if I want something similar to that. I started playing Dragon's Dogma ages ago, and yeah, I played like 2 hours of it. I want to give that another go. That looks like it could be fun. Control has been on my list for God knows how long, and I've still not played. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I started playing, but I kind of would like to pick up again. It's just I'm aware it's quite a long game. I've been wondering about maybe replaying Jedi Fallen Order. That sounds like it could be fun. I don't know. I enjoyed it the first time around, and I kind of want to go back, but then again, I kind of don't, so maybe I'll give that another go at some point. Resident Evil 2, I got for my birthday, the remake. And here's some gaming sins for you. I've never finished the first Half-Life. Yeah, here we go. I've played like 8 hours of Half-Life 1, but never actually like beat it, so I should finish that. And I have never played any of Half-Life 2. I have it sat in my library, but 0 hours. I have never launched it. So, finishing Half-Life and playing through Half-Life 2 are the other things I'd kind of like to do. So I've got a few things in there. There's plenty I can be playing next month. I think I'm going to focus on finishing Prey and, obviously, Dragon Age. Hopefully I can get those finished. I think that's... yeah. Alright, I've waffled a bit in this final section, but ciao.